On the news, National Security Council considers nationwide ban on motorcycles and mining activities amid rising insecurity. Federal government declares NLC ASU proposed protest illegal. And federal government projects 6.7 trillion naira for petrol subsidy spending in 2023. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here on News Now. I am Folashade Ogrinde. The National Security Council says it is considering a nationwide ban on motorcycles and mining activities in the country as part of its strategy to curb terrorist activities, checkmate loopholes and cut off their sources of funding. This was the outcome of the meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House in Abuja. Addressing State House correspondents after the meeting chaired by the President, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami revealed that the terrorists had moved from the conventional ways of funding their activities to mining and ransom taking. He added that while government is aware of the economic consequences of the motorcycle ban, the policy was necessary to guarantee the nation's security. The federal government has warned the Nigeria Labour Congress not to embark on its proposed ASU nationwide solidarity protest slated for July 26th and 27th. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, told State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by the President that NLC is in no dispute with the federal government and as such considered its planned protest illegal. Our correspondent, Mary Kanu, tells us more in this report.
The current face-off between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, which has inspired the Nigeria Labour Congress to join the wave of industrial actions, is central at this briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting. The federal government is clearly disturbed about the threat by the NLC to hold a two-day demonstration in solidarity with ASU and deems it illegal.
This particular, NLC, asking and mobilizing people to come out on strike between 26 and 27 is clearly unlawful. Because there's no dispute. What rights? There's no dispute between NLC as a body and the federal government today.
The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, at the briefing also aligned with the belief that the demonstration by the NLC will cause huge economic downturns,
where the lives that you are trying to promote would be seriously affected and hampered, where lives can be lost because of your own activity, I think you should reconsider. So civil aviation workers, I think, should not be part of this. And yes, I am concerned. And yes, we have spoken to them. And I don't think they will join because they know that there is huge responsibility of lives on their heads.
The aviation minister also revealed FEC approved the bilateral air service agreement between Nigeria and Canada to enable Nigerians in Canada fly directly to the country.
Council duly considered and approved that we should go ahead and sign bilateral air service agreements between us and Canada for all of the benefits to be driven therefrom mutually.
Also speaking at the briefing, the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, revealed Council approved 6 billion naira as augmentation for the Chochi irrigation project in Adamawa State. He also attributed incomplete projects by the ministry to the outbreak of COVID-19.
So we have been doing a lot of projects, and it is to the credit of this administration that in the Ministry of Water Resources till today, we have not initiated a single multi-billion naira project. We have been working entirely to complete these schemes. We inherited 116. We've managed to finish about 40, and maybe before the life has been, if not for COVID, by now we'll be talking of at least 50 projects that are completed. When I checked recently, from 2016 to date, we have provided water to more than 20 million people, potable water.
Taking up the conversation around the water bill that has generated controversy since it was recently represented for consideration at the National Assembly, the minister called on Nigerians to allow the National Assembly to do its work on the bill. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria.
There appears to be disagreement between the presidency and the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, over the outcome of the meeting with the presidential team involved in the resolution of the lingering strike embarked upon by the 4 university-based union. President Buhari, who presided over the meeting, gave the Minister of Education, Adamu, 2 weeks to resolve the impasse and report back to him. Asked if the 2 weeks directive by the president to resolve the issue is achievable, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said he proposed 1 week to resolve the issue, but the Minister of Education, Adamu, volunteered to tackle the lingering crisis with ASU in 2 weeks.
The head of NLC Nigeria has an affiliate of Workers' Federation world over called International Trade Union Congress. So I will be surprised if he's going ahead with his neck to do a demonstration. The Minister of Education volunteered to do it in 2 weeks. I proposed to the meeting for 1 week. He needed an extra time. He said within 2 weeks, he will come back to the meeting with good results. So it is within his ambit, and that's why we're on 2 weeks.
Now, rising from the FEC meeting and its outcome, Emmanuel Osodeke, the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, joins me now. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, how would you rate the body language of the federal government? Would you say the government is ready to yield to ASU's demands?
Well, we don't have any reason to be excited because we've had this before. Our hope is that it will change this time. Now that the Minister of Education is the one handling it, my prayer and our prayer is that we hope they will be different from what we had before. What we had in February, what we had in May, we hope this time there will be a difference. Since the President is directing the Minister directly this time, hope there will be a difference.
Now, President Buhari has said there is a possibility that the strike could be called off if the parties involved are sincere and flexible. Do you think ASU will be willing to meet the government halfway for the sake of the students?
I think we've gone beyond that issue of halfway. We have done that already. We had our proposal to the committee. The committee came with governmental proposal, and we accepted the government own. So we have cut down our own. So the issue of we going halfway, we already done that. On the issue of revitalization, we also told them, instead of giving 1.3 trillion, tell us what you can give. On the issue of academic allowance, tell us what you give. On the issue of UTAS, we have submitted ourselves to the third test. We passed the first two, we test one, and the still on 3, and we have done it. This is our fund, it's our time. So that is it. So it's not on our side, it's on the government side.
Well, definitely in the interest of the students, we hope that ASU and the federal government can come to a conclusion and lecturers can go back to the classrooms. But many thanks, Emmanuel Osodeke, President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Thank you very much for your time and your contribution. And now to electoral matters, the Nigerian Correctional Service NCOS is seeking an extension of the voting rights to inmates across the various correctional facilities in the country. The Assistant Comptroller General of the service, Daniel Odaro, who made the request during a visit to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Abuja, says such privilege would amount to the inmate exercising their civic responsibilities as Nigerians. In response, INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu reiterated the Commission's commitment towards inclusivity, including the rights of inmates to vote during elections.
The court recently gave a judgment in favor of inmates to vote in our elections to select our leaders. The modalities for this process needs to be worked out. And so we need to be here to discuss or to interface with INEC to find out how this process can be achieved.
Will inmates vote outside the prison or inside the prison? So are we going to set up polling units inside the prisons, or there'll be polling units outside the prisons? Since the majority of inmates are awaiting trial, we believe that some of them are already registered voters. The majority of them are actually awaiting trial. So they may have been registered voters. If they are registered voters, they can't be re-registered. What they will do is to transfer their registration. Will they transfer their registration to the correctional centers for that reason? Now, will political parties be allowed to campaign inside the correctional centers? This is a matter that you need to advise the Commission. Will observers and the media be allowed access to the correctional centers on election day so that the process is really transparent and we observe what is happening? Will INEC officials be granted access to the correctional centers for voter education? This is a matter that we need to discuss.
The federal government says it is considering the strategy deployed in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure a decline in Lassa fever case fatality rate. The Minister of Health, Asage Ehanire, discloses at the National Training Workshop on Case Management for Lassa fever in Abuja. Representing the Minister of State for Health, Nkama Ekuman Kama, said the unprecedented rise in the number of confirmed cases of Lassa fever, including healthcare workers' infections, has necessitated the capacity building workshop.
Our commitment is also evident in our emphasis on infection prevention and control measures among healthcare workers to reduce rates of infection within healthcare facilities. Now we want to build capacity on case management because we know that doing so will go a long way in reducing mortality in these patients. This training is part of government efforts to further reduce mortality from Lassa fever.
This workshop is important in that it will address issues regarding the case management, the way people are treated, the medicine they are being given, and the timeliness of the treatment, and also expand the best practices to the rest of Nigeria. Because as you know, even though the case fatality ratio might be low in Irua Specialized Teaching Hospital, it may be very high in other places in Nigeria. And Nigeria being, like I said, 36 countries in one, it's very important that we bring all our health workers up to speed so that they all benefit from best-in-class knowledge on how to treat Lassa fever cases.
We want to train frontline healthcare workers in the management of Lassa fever disease. We believe that when we do this properly, these frontline healthcare workers will be able to better manage patients who have Lassa fever. They'll be better able to recognize the disease. They'll know the appropriate treatment to give, and that goes a long way in ensuring a recovery.
We'll take a break here, but still to come. Super Falcons shun training, protest over unpaid bonuses. Details of this story and more right after this break.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians have said in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The National Security Council says it is considering a nationwide ban on motorcycles and mining activities in the country as part of its strategy to curb terrorist activities, checkmate loopholes and cut off their sources of funding. Addressing State House correspondents after a meeting chaired by President Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, said investigations are still ongoing to establish the correlation between mining and motorcycles, which provides funding for the supply of arms to the terrorists. We also told you that the federal government says it is not ready for any disruption that would affect the smooth running of government, as it was warning the Nigeria Labour Congress not to embark on its proposed ASU nationwide solidarity protest slated for July 26 and 27. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, told State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Buhari that the NLC is in no dispute with the federal government and as such considered its planned protest as illegal. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletins, or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. And in COVID-19 updates, President of the United States, Joe Biden, has tested positive for COVID-19, the White House announced on Thursday. According to the House Press Secretary, the fully vaccinated 79-year-old leader is experiencing mild symptoms and would carry out his full duties while in isolation. Biden's diagnosis comes amid yet another COVID wave in the United States, driven this time by the BA.5 variant. We'll take a short break and return with more stories and business. To stay with us. Welcome back. Let's now join Simisola Adigun for more stories in business, where the federal government has said it is likely to spend over 6 trillion naira for petroleum subsidy. Simi, tell us more about this story.
Many thanks for Lashade. Welcome to business. The federal government has projected an expenditure of 6.7 trillion naira on petrol subsidy payments in 2023. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, made this known on Thursday at the presentation of the 2023 to 2035 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper in Abuja. Ahmed further explained that the subsidy payment projection is based on the assumption that the estimated 6.72 trillion naira will remain and be fully provided for just in 18 months extension announced earlier in 2021 to the tune of 3.36 trillion naira. The Senate has passed the Electricity Bill 2022 to allow states and individuals to generate and distribute electricity. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Power, Senator Gabriel Suswam, in his presentation said the bill seeks to, amongst other things, provide an ideal legal and institutional framework to leverage the modest gains of the privatization phase of the electric power sector in Nigeria. He added that when signed into law, the bill will improve utilization of generated power through increased investments in new technologies to enhance transmission and distribution of generated power to minimize aggregate value chain losses. After the passage of the bill, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, assured of a quick passage by the House of Representatives, followed by assent by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Mr. President, this one deals with situation where state, in the bill now, state can legally generate power, transmit and distribute without any hindrance. Any individual who have the capacity can do same. That is a new introduction in the bill. It has now opened up so that any individual who have the capacity can go and generate power, transmit it and distribute it if we have the capacity to engage in transmission and distribution. That has been introduced now.
Banks that this discourse owed so much money. That changes the landscape, because banks, or let me say those banks, do not have the capacity, the wherewithal to run the discourse. What happens with our discourse now in the hands of banks? Are they going to privatize them again, or government should look into it and do the privatization once again?
Well, we'll take a short break here and be back with stock market report. The Nigerian equities market records another bearish close on Thursday. The market dipped by 0.12% as the hike monetary policy rate further dampens sentiment in the stock market. The all-share index and market cap also decreased to 52,122 basis points and 28 trillion naira. International breweries leads the losing streak with a 50 kobo decrease, and with Caverton Offshore Support Group both end with a combined 6 naira loss. Meanwhile, Multiverse Mining and Exploration with Cornerstone Insurance Company fight the odds, ending with a combined gain of 2 naira and 65 kobo. Market summary shows that 151 million volume of shares valued at over 2 billion naira exchanged hands in 3,447 deals. Now, although global stocks dipped on Thursday, UK's FTSE and Japan's Nikkei landed in the bulls at 0.0885% and 0.44%, leaving the US Dow Jones in the bears at 0.20%. That is on stock. Folashade will now fill us in on the latest happenings in Italy.
Well, many thanks, Ms. Ola, for that update. Well, in Italy, the Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi has handed in his resignation on Thursday, setting the country on course for an early election and shaking financial markets. Draghi formally handed his resignation to President Sergio Mattarella after his National Unity Coalition government crumbled. Political sources in the country say Mattarella is likely to dissolve parliament and call for early elections for September or October, adding that Draghi may stay in as a caretaker capacity to handle current business. The political crisis has upended months of stability in Italy, during which Draghi had helped shape Europe's tough response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and had boosted the country's standing in financial markets. And in sports, Super Falcons of Nigeria shunned training on Wednesday night as they protested over unpaid bonuses and allowances. The players were met with Nigeria Football Federation and NFF officials over the issue, say they are also yet to receive their bonuses at the ongoing 2022 Africa Women's Cup of Nations in Morocco. To salvage the situation, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the funds as requested by the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF. The 9-time African champions will take on Zambia in the third-place match at WAFCON 2022 on Friday. Well, to discuss more on this, Enito Obadino, sport analyst, joins me now on the news. Well, the issue of non-payment has become one too many in Nigeria's sporting scene. What really is going on?
It's a problem of issues surrounding the Sports Federation and, in this case, Nigerian Football Federation, being able to plan in advance. Before now, they knew they were going to play the Women's AFCON by this time of the year. So, according to the Sports Ministry, information from the Sports Ministry said the NFF only submitted their request 2 weeks to the tournament, and of course, getting enough money out that will move them from camping to the virtual tournament where these allowances were expected to be paid. It did not happen. So that really is ugly. And although the NFF president time and again has talked about being 80-something% or 70 to 80-something% being independent in terms of financing, but that has not been seen in the way they've handled the issue of bonuses allowance for the Super Falcons.
Now, the unpaid bonuses date back to 2016. Would you say this has had an impact in the performance of the ladies over the years? Quickly tell us about that briefly, please.
Basically, it dates back actually to 2019. That was at the last Women's FIFA World Cup, where they had a sit-in protest that cost Nigeria money, actually. FIFA had to deduct a part of the money that were meant to pay Nigeria after being booted out of the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup in France, because the ladies said they were not traveling back to the country except they get their money. Also, this brings to the fore the issue of trust between the players and the Nigerian Football Federation, because this is not the first time. You mentioned 2016 earlier on. We also have other years at the AFCON in South Africa, where the ladies refused to travel back after winning the Women's AFCON because they were not being paid. So that trust bridge has not been built properly. And of course, the NFF keeps maintaining that they had the right conversations with the girls, trying to inform them that, hey, these monies are expected at a certain time. And of course, the process of bringing out money from the federal government, there are a little bit of bureaucratic bottleneck from submitting the request to getting it out through the Ministry of Finance before the CBN will eventually pay into the TSA account of the Nigerian Football Federation. But it comes down to planning. And these girls, one thing you respect them for over the years is they are not afraid to speak up because they know that they need to get their dues. And if they don't get it on time, it might, like in the issue of the under-20 women's national team, the Falconet, they were owed for years. Basically, it took a lot of public outcry before they would get. And some of these players played at under-20, so they recognize that pattern, and that's why they are refusing to continue unless they get part of their monies.
Well, indeed, Anita Obadino, sports analyst, thank you very much for your time and your contribution. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for joining us. Bye for now.